Why some ideas thrive. It's not just about truth. Whether you're a theist or not, everyone holds to ideas they believe in, and naturally some they reject. Belief in Santa Claus, adherence to a political ideology, or devotion to a world religion are just a few examples. But this raises an important question. What makes these ideas, regardless of whether we agree with them, so successful in capturing people's beliefs and loyalty? This isn't a theological question like, why does God allow so many differing religions to exist? Instead, it's a sociological and psychological inquiry into why certain ideas, regardless of their factual basis, become so widespread and deeply rooted. What are the underlying reasons that some ideas are more effective at propagating and retaining their followers? In his book, The Selfish Gene, Richard Dawkins popularized the idea of so-called memes. In this context, memes are not mere internet jokes, but units of cultural information that replicate, evolve, and adapt, much like biological traits. The idea is to compare the development of beliefs, rituals, and cultural norms to the way genes transmit biological traits. Just as genes follow evolutionary principles, such as survival of the fittest, memes also face pressures to survive in the minds and cultures of people. They compete for attention, adapt to new environments, and in some cases even develop mechanisms to make them resistant to challenge. In the following video essay, I will attempt to showcase how the success and persistence of certain ideas are not necessarily tied to their truth or utility, but rather to psychological and social factors that can enable them to reproduce and survive in a given social context. Case study number 1. The persistence of Santa Claus. The myth of Santa Claus is a prime example of how some ideas thrive despite their lack of factual basis. Every year, millions of children believe in Santa Claus, eagerly awaiting his arrival on Christmas Eve. Even after they learn the truth, the myth is perpetuated by families, media, and businesses. This enduring belief reveals key factors in the survival of memes. In biological evolution, many organisms engage in symbiotic relationships with others, benefiting mutually. A well-known example is the clownfish and the sea anemone. The clownfish gains protection from predators by living among the anemone's stinging tentacles, and the anemone benefits from the clownfish's cleaning and nutrient-rich waste. Similarly, bees and flowers share a mutually beneficial relationship where bees gather nectar to make honey, while helping flowers reproduce by spreading pollen. Symbiosis is common in nature, and though it may not seem obvious at first, the belief in Santa Claus also engages in symbiotic relationships. Commercial businesses, Coca-Cola for example, played a major role in shaping the modern image of Santa Claus through its iconic advertisements. Retailers, toy companies, and media outlets all profit from the Christmas season, encouraging belief in Santa Claus through festive marketing. This mutual benefit between the idea of Santa Claus and commercial interests ensures that the meme continues to be culturally prominent. Even parents have a symbiotic relationship towards their children's belief in Santa Claus through the idea of naughty and nice lists. The promise of rewards for good behavior and the implied threat of receiving coal for bad behavior helps parents reinforce desirable behaviors in children. In biological evolution, animals also face predators and competitors that endanger their survival. Similarly, critical scrutiny poses a threat to the belief in Santa Claus. As children develop critical thinking skills, they begin to question the existence of Santa, leading to the death of the belief. For this meme to survive, it must find ways to evade skepticism. So, how does the meme of Santa Claus react to critical scrutiny? Cleverly, it sidesteps direct confrontation with logic by confining itself mostly to childhood, a stage where magical thinking is more readily accepted. Children, with their underdeveloped critical thinking, are more inclined to accept and retain the idea of Santa Claus. Of course, adult believers in Santa Claus are rare, unlike theists who persist into adulthood. Religions and political ideologies, which do not limit themselves to the minds of children, have developed more complex strategies to fend off intellectual predators. We will discuss these shortly. But there is one more factor that plays in favor of Santa. I'm talking about the near complete absence of any competitors. Other seasonal figures, such as the Easter Bunny, operate at different times of the year, leaving Santa largely unchallenged during the Christmas season. Unlike religions or political ideologies, which often face rivalry from competing belief systems, Santa Claus occupies a largely uncontested cultural space. Most religions and political ideologies are mutually exclusive, meaning a person cannot fully subscribe to two at once. However, very few religions or ideologies actively discourage belief in Santa, reducing the competition for cultural prominence. The combination of symbiotic relationships, the evasion of critical scrutiny, and the lack of competition has allowed the Santa Claus myth to thrive. While individual believers come and go as children outgrow the myth, the general idea of Santa Claus persists. A biological parallel can be found in species like mayflies, whose individual lifespan is short, but as a species, they endure and thrive. Similarly, though belief in Santa is often short-lived, the meme itself retains culturally resilient. Case study number 2: the persistence of faiths, ideologies, and other memes. As stated before, religions and political ideologies do not limit themselves to the minds of children. Instead of evading predatory intellect by moving into a less dangerous domain, they use more complex strategies akin to parallels seen in nature. In biology, different species will use different reproductive strategies, often classified as R selection and K selection. In simpler terms, we can think of these as quantity versus quality reproduction. R-selected species, like frogs, produce a large number of offspring, but invest little in their care. Most offspring do not survive, but the sheer number ensures that some do. This is a numbers game strategy: maximize reproduction, knowing that many will not make it. A great example of a memetic parallel is chain letters or chain emails, where the majority of people receiving them might ignore or delete the message. However, a small portion of recipients continue forwarding the chain, keeping it alive. The spread happens despite low participation from the majority of recipients, relying on a small number of active forwarders. Another example is controversial topics like assisted suicide. While many people might support it privately, only a small percentage become outspoken advocates, promoting the idea through books, seminars, or social media. Due to social stigma or fear of being judged as immoral, only a select group of vocal enthusiasts actively propagate the idea, allowing it to spread despite widespread passive support. On the other hand, K-selected species, such as elephants or humans, produce fewer offspring but invest heavily in their upbringing. These species focus on quality and long-term survival with significant parental involvement to ensure the young reach maturity and can eventually reproduce. A strong memetic parallel to case selection can be found in the academic world. This environment is highly complex and requires years of intellectual development. Once individuals achieve advanced degrees, they contribute to spreading the ideas of their field by teaching, conducting research, and fostering knowledge in others. Religious schools and institutions follow a similar case-selected strategy. Over time, they carefully nurture faith and lay deep foundations, cultivating the next generation of leaders, teachers, elders, gurus, and pastors, who in turn continue to guide and sustain their faith communities. In biological case-selected species, young animals learn almost everything from their parents or older members of the group. They are taught where to find food, what dangers to avoid, and sometimes even how to use tools, skills essential for survival. Parental involvement is critical. Before the young can fend for themselves, parents provide food, shelter, and protection, ensuring survival until the offspring are self-sufficient. When applied to memes, parental figures can refer to not just biological parents, but also classmates, friends, extended family, religious leaders, internet influencers, or prominent defenders of a belief system. So, how do these memetic parental figures provide food and protection to their ideological offspring? Food sustains life, and in memetic terms, it represents the psychological or emotional incentives that encourage continued belief in the meme. Parental figures may highlight the happiness and fulfillment that come from maintaining the belief, or they may instill fear of the sadness or meaninglessness that supposedly follows if one abandons it. A classic example of this is the concept of heaven and hell. While it might not be particularly effective at attracting new converts, it serves as a powerful motivator to remain faithful once someone becomes a believer. Similar examples arise when people claim that individuals or entire societies are happier when they adhere to a particular system's principles. Conversely, it is argued that those who stray from the belief, whether as individuals or societies, will face significant suffering. Protection prevents a life from being prematurely ended. And in the realm of memes, it involves shielding young followers from criticism and deconversion. This means countering skepticism through emotional appeals or carefully constructed arguments designed to defend the belief from external attacks. Theists have a distinct advantage when defending their beliefs. They can criticize opposing viewpoints while claiming their own are beyond reach. They may use logic and observable phenomena to argue for God's existence, yet when logical objections are raised against them, they often assert that God is not bound by logic or is beyond the observable universe. For example, they might point to a fortunate event and say, "Look, my prayer was answered." But when a prayer goes unanswered, it's not taken as evidence against God's existence. Instead, it's attributed to the person's lack of faith or hidden sin, or simply that God has a greater plan in mind. Positive outcomes are credited to God, while negative events are often blamed on the devil or human sinfulness. No matter what happens, the belief is reinforced. In essence, whatever the outcome, the meme is validated either way. It goes without saying that this reasoning is not epistemically sound and can cause memes to thrive despite a lack of factual basis. Another way in which theism can be self-validating is through the prediction of persecution. Many faiths claim that their followers will face opposition or suffering for their beliefs. When someone challenges the truth of the faith, believers interpret this as persecution, thereby fulfilling the faith's own prophecy. The fact that this prediction seemingly comes true strengthens the belief among adherents, making it appear validated. Moreover, when people see others maintaining their faith despite hardship or persecution, they are more inclined to view that faith as credible or worth following. In biology, we also observe sophisticated strategies for evading predators. Some animals will outrun their pursuers or seek refuge in places like trees or burrows where the predator cannot reach them. Some animals have adapted to blend into their surroundings, making them nearly invisible to predators. So, what are the memetic equivalents of evading or camouflaging from intellectual predators? People often avoid exposing their memes to potential threats by steering clear of conversations that could challenge them, or by quickly changing the topic if someone else brings it up. Camouflaging a meme takes this a step further. No one even knows the person holds the belief or idea. A good example of a camouflaged meme is having same-sex attractions in a hostile environment. In such cases, the individual may hide their true feelings to protect the meme, allowing it to persist until they find a more accepting space where it can be safely expressed. Evasion and camouflage might not be effective in growing a meme's following, but they can sometimes be the only way for a meme to survive. In nature, some organisms like hedgehogs, cacti, or poison dart frogs have developed defenses, such as thorns or toxins, that punish predators for attacking them. Their strategy can be summed up as, "If you mess with me, I will make you regret it." In memetic terms, a similar strategy can be seen in extremist groups that threaten harm or violence against anyone who dares to criticize their beliefs. This tactic can be so effective at maintaining followers that, in some cases, organisms or groups use it as a bluff. For example, non-poisonous frogs may mimic the appearance of the poisonous dart frog to benefit from the same level of deterrence, creating an illusion of danger. Finally, just as the belief in Santa Claus engages in symbiosis with businesses, major religious systems and popular opinions often form symbiotic relationships with governments and large corporations. For example, major political parties may claim to be religiously inspired, which helps promote the religion while simultaneously securing a large voter base for the party. On the opposite end of that spectrum, large companies often engage in virtue signaling by aligning themselves with widely held opinions or social movements, benefiting both the company's image and the spread of the opinion or belief. When a meme is outcompeted or fails to adapt to its changing environment, it faces extinction. For instance, the geocentric model of the solar system now has virtually no followers, and belief in ancient Greek or Egyptian mythology has almost entirely vanished. This naturally raises the question, why have some memes faded while others persist? Is it because we are closer to truth today than we were millennia ago? Or are there other factors at play that determine which ideas survive and which are lost to history? Just as biological evolution has enriched the Earth with a staggering diversity of life forms, memetic evolution has produced an equally vast variety of beliefs, ideologies, and cultural practices. Major world religions have branched into countless denominations, sects, and interpretations, much like species diverging from a common ancestor. Political ideologies, philosophical schools of thought, and even social movements have similarly split and adapted to different environments, cultural pressures, and historical contexts. This diversity is not just a byproduct of memetic evolution, it is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of ideas. Just as no single species dominates the biological landscape, no single belief system holds a monopoly in the memetic ecosystem. Ideas evolve, compete, and coexist, each shaped by the environment in which they thrive. Whether it's social, political, or psychological, the wonder of biological life lies in its complexity, its interdependence, and its ability to adapt to changing circumstances. The same can be said for memetic life. Memes, like living organisms, demonstrate the power of evolution. not just to survive, but to flourish in a diverse and ever-changing world. So, are we closer to the truth today than we were millennia ago? Perhaps. But this video is already long enough. The true marvel lies in the diversity of thought itself, and the endless ways in which ideas evolve, adapt, and find new life in the minds of people across time and space. As always, I truly thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again.